What's up everyone, my name is Zach and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be narrowing down my top 20 favorite books of 2023 down to just 10. So in the last video, if you want to get caught up to speed, I did do a video where I took all of my favorite books of 2023 and I narrowed it down to a top 20 list. I'm going to be taking that list and narrowing it down to a top 10 list. I haven't really thought too much about this, so let me give you guys some updates if you didn't know, if you maybe aren't in the Discord or didn't know. I had both COVID and strep throat at the same time. It's been over a week since I've had those things, so I'm doing much better. What are the odds of having both COVID and strep throat? But I have never been that sick in my life, so hence I might sound a little bit congested or nasally. I'm doing much better. I feel like I'm able to make this video and talk for this length of time. I also have cough drops and something to drink next to me. But yeah, if you notice like a different like kind of nasally sound and you're new here, I don't typically sound that way, I don't think. But yeah, wow, that was no joke, being that sick. I've never been that sick in my life. That definitely was no joke. So I'm glad to be doing better now. So in this list, I'm going to take that top 20 list and I'm simply just going to narrow it down to my top 10. And then in the last video that I will do it narrowing down to my favorite book of 2023. So I'm going to cut these lights off behind me, even though they're really pretty, because they keep doing that stupid flashing thing, and I think it's the camera, it's not the lights. I've stared at the lights long enough to know, so I'm going to cut that off really quick. Quick edit for you guys. I should have mentioned that in this video, you can expect that I am going to narrow down my top 20 list, and then after I quickly do that, I'm going to show you guys the books individually and very briefly tell you like why it got to stay on the list and why I loved it so much. But I didn't want you all to think that this whole video is just going to be me deleting things off of a notepad app. So stay through that part to see the narrowing down, and then I'll give you guys a little bit more explanation after that. Okay, back to future me. Okay, maybe not as pretty, but yeah, none of us are going to get motion sick or have seizures. Okay, so let's narrow down this list. I was saying that I hadn't thought too much about it, mostly because I was very, very sick. And because I purposely didn't think much about it because I wanted to save it for this video. So yeah, I'm just going to go down this list and take off ones that I think can go and keep ones like for sure that I think need to stay. So right off the bat, I can tell you, we're going to go ahead and take off Starling House because I told you guys in the last video, Starling House is my new all-time favorite book, and I don't feel like it's fair to be on this list. So when I announce my favorite book of the year, Starling House will be kind of separate in that because, again, a new favorite book of all time is obviously going to win. So let's go ahead and take that off the list. Okay, ones I can tell you that are going to stay for sure. So we have to take off 9 more of these, but I can tell you that Bright Young Women, that is going to stay for sure. So let's bold that. Midnight is the Darkest Hour is going to stay for sure. Yellowface is going to stay for sure. Oh man, okay, so let's go back up to the top because the books that I read at the end of the year were like so much better than the books I read at the beginning of the year. Let's go back to the top of the list. Okay. Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating, I think, can go off my top 20. I did really love that book, but it's a rom-com, and I don't know, there were some other romances on here that I feel like maybe were just slightly better. I did really... Okay, so I'm only going to say this once, and it's going to be hard to not say it many more times, but these books that are on this list stand out from the almost 200 other books that I read. So please know that when I take something off, I mean, you know this, I'm just having a little bit of control issues right now, but they're on this list because I really, really love them and I really recommended them. So even though I'm taking it off this list, okay, I still really loved Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating. So I think that is going to come off the list. Okay, Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers, I feel like also has to stay because I just loved this book so much and I have not shut up about it since like March when I read it, or maybe even February because I got an early copy of it. It has to stay on this list. In fact, the night before I ended up going to the doctor to be like, I think I have something other than COVID because I tested positive for COVID at home and my wife had COVID. So like, I was like, yeah, this makes sense. But I knew something else was wrong and I hadn't slept in 48 hours because I was in so much pain in my throat. And the night before I went to the doctor, I was just laying on the couch, like tears in my eyes because I was in so much pain. And I was like, what is the one thing that can help me get through this night? Because I live in America, which means I cannot afford to go to the emergency room, even with health insurance. So I was like, I have to wait for urgent care, which if you don't live in America or don't don't live somewhere where there's an urgent care, I don't know what healthcare looks like, let alone in America, but in other places, urgent care is a place that you can walk in between like 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. for most things that aren't like, you're not going to die. And though I felt like I was going to die, I knew that I wasn't going to die. So I had to wait until 8 a.m. to go to urgent care. And I started re-listening to Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers because I knew that if anything could get me through the pains of the next morning, it was this book. So this has to stay on here, just obviously. Okay, The Simple Wild. I did really love The Simple Wild, but I think it can come off this list. It's In His Kiss. Okay, let's leave that for now. Another book that I can tell you is going to stay is going to be Dead 11. I also have not stopped talking about that book, so it has to stay. The 7-Year Slip has to stay. Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow has to stay. The Wake Up Call has to stay. Okay, let's see how many more I can keep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh my gosh, I can only pick 2 more off this list. Holy crap. At the end of this video, I will hold them all up and like obviously show you guys the top 10 that I picked. Oh my gosh, but Black River Orchard, okay. The Burnout, I loved this book, but I feel like compared to the other ones and like things that I'm going to take with me, The Burnout can go, but I loved that book. Together We Rot, same. I talked about this in the last video. I loved Together We Rot, but I think it can go off this list too. Business or Pleasure, I will take off. I did love Business or Pleasure, but The 7-Year Slip can be my romance that gets to stay. So that can go, and then It's In His Kiss can go just on principle of, yeah. The Hero of Ages made me cry at the end, and not many books do that. So I feel like, and also I haven't shut up about Brandon Sanderson this year, so that can stay too. So this means I can only pick one more, either Black River Orchard, Check-In Mate, One for My Enemy, or The Night Shift. Okay, The Night Shift can go, and One for My Enemy can go. Let me check my counting since my brain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I can only pick either Check-In Mate or Black River Orchard. Oh man, I really, really loved both of these books a lot. Oh man. Okay. This feels unfair. I really loved both Check-In Mate and Black River Orchard, but they're very different. I already have one horror, which is Dead 11, and I already have a romance, which is The 7-Year Slip. Oh man, I want to keep them both, but I know that I can't. Okay, I'm going to keep Black River Orchard just because this year I really went out of my comfort zone and read a lot of books that I would have never picked up before, and I want this year's list to reflect that. So I'm going to go gather these books and come back and then quickly tell you like why they made my top 10 list. So I will be right back. Okay, I have gathered the books that have been able to stay on the list. The book that I want to start with is the only book that I don't have a physical copy of right now. I lent it out to a friend to read because I hope that she will love it as much as I loved it. And so I don't have the physical copy with me right now. And that is The Wake Up Call by Beth O'Leary. This book I have not stopped thinking about since I listened to it. I actually listened to it from Penguin Random House Audio gave me an early copy of it. I never would have thought, like I literally was going on a run and never would have thought that I would have loved this book as much as I did. But running through an 11-mile run, or like I think probably that day was probably like a 10-mile run, and enjoying something so much that I was laughing, you know, it has to be a certain kind of book. This is just a romance book. It does center around the holiday season. Essentially, the premise is that these two people are trying to save this dilapidated, send help, hotel. You guys know what I'm trying to say. Hotel from quite literally crumbling to the ground. And through doing that, they end up going through the safe and finding these wedding rings that have been left or lost at the hotel. And they go try to find the owners of those. And you'll see how the story connects because you should read it. But I just really love the main character. I thought the story was really unique, and the characters were fun and interesting. We also got to know a lot of like side love stories that I think hearing like how they fell in love and how their rings were lost and that sort of thing. Like I just really, really loved that, and I'd never read anything like it. So yeah. that gets to stay on this list. Okay, now moving into the actual physical stack that I have here in front of me. These are in no particular order except for literally how I grabbed them. In the next video, I will have to pick my favorite of these 10. Again, Starling House is a beat of its own. It'll be in that video, but a little bit like separately. So I have The 7-Year Slip. I haven't showed up about any of these books, so let me just stop saying that because you get the point now, especially if you've been watching my videos. You're like, Zach, we know. So you get it, okay? This is a hard-hitting romance about grief and the power of time, changing time, parallel universes. It's romance with magical realism. I love that. I did not know that I loved that this much until this year. This is the author of The Dead Romantics, which is another book that I have really loved. So I can't wait for her book coming next year as well because, yeah, I just want to read everything that she writes, probably even her YA stuff. Okay, The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. I didn't know fantasy could be written like this. This is the third book in the Mistborn Era 1 trilogy. Absolutely loved it. This ending is absolutely beautiful. There is a scene at the end of this era that I will never forget. I will never forget. It was so beautiful. It ended in such a perfect way, and the way that Brandon Sanderson does storytelling over time, like over books, when you think you know what's happening, you don't. There is plot twist after plot twist, and just you can really immerse yourself in this world. It's amazing. You've probably heard it on BookTube before, but Brandon Sanderson can write. If you like fantasy, you really should try his books. I really want to read the Stormlight Archive series. I know I'm going to love it even more than the Mistborn series, and I can't imagine that, which is why I haven't started those yet because I'm nervous. But if you are interested in reading through Brandon Sanderson's novels and the Discord, which is linked below, we do lots of different things, including a Fun Seeker Santa that we're doing right now. But if you're interested in a read-along, there is a read-along happening in the Discord where people are just kind of popping in and out as they read through Sanderson's books. So you're welcome to join if you've been looking for a community, a reading community, and or a reading community place to read through Sanderson's books. Okay, next, I just talked about this. The story I told you guys when I'm sick, I think explains enough. I just love the humor in this book. I love the main character. The murder mystery's fun and I do enjoy it, but the humor and the wholesomeness of this story, mostly it's the humor. I love the humor in this book. I would say it's 99% dad jokes, so do with that what you will. Okay, the next one in line is Bright Young Women. I loved this for a lot of reasons that I loved the next few books that I'm going to talk about, but I never would have thought this would be a book that I like. I listened to this on audio just on a whim. This is a fictionalized retelling of the Ted Bundy murders. Specifically, in real life, Ted Bundy murdered 2 sorority sisters in their sorority house. This is a fictionalized retelling that really focuses on the victims and their stories and the other people that were in their lives and investigating this case. It's really good. I've never read anything like it. I hope this author does something similar, maybe with other true crime. Like, I don't really enjoy true crime as like a novel. I like true crime TV shows, but the fictionalized aspect of this made it really interesting, and it didn't focus so much on Ted Bundy. In fact, they never name him. They say the suspect. And yeah, it's really good. Take a chance next year and read some books that you never thought that you would read, because this one shocked me. And then I haven't liked this author's other books. I've tried almost all of them, but I loved Yellowface. The humor, I'm realizing that humor is really important to me. And this year, I really discovered a lot of new things about myself, which literary fiction, like the next book is literary fiction too, which I'll get to that in a second. But what? I literally said I'll read anything that's not literary fiction until this year. Like, my mind has been blown. I think it's also part of like growing up and how our reading tastes change. But this is satire. Do not take this book too seriously. I think some people were let down because they took the book too seriously. But R. Kwong is a genius, and she is trying to tell you things about cancel culture that maybe some people are not ready to hear. But I loved this. It was really funny and just cynical, and the humor was dry. Yeah, I was really surprised. Again, I picked it up on a whim. My good friend really enjoyed the book, and so I was like, well, I trust her recommendation, so I'm going to give it a try, even though I really don't think I'm going to enjoy it. And then I think I listened to it in one day because I loved it so much. I don't need to say anything else about Tomorrow, except for to update you guys that at Barnes & Noble right now in my town, they had a signed copy, and I needed to replace my copy because you guys probably saw the vlog where I read this book. I think I did a vlog. I don't know. I talked about it somewhere where I spilled something on the pages right here, and it's been driving me crazy since it happened. So I've been meaning to get a new copy, and then at Barnes & Noble, there was a signed edition, and I was like, okay, I just need this copy. So tomorrow, I have talked about since I read it. So you guys know that I loved this book. Again, this was I think this was the first literary fiction that I read, and I was like, wow, this is not what I thought it was. I don't know what I thought literary fiction was, but I was wrong, and I'm sorry. To all the people I said that I didn't like literary fiction, I was wrong, and I'm sorry. I'm actually going to do a video soon based solely off this book. I'm going to start a new series called I've Got This Feeling, where it's like I'm looking for other books that give me the same feeling as a book that I loved. And this is going to be the first episode, which I'm going to read things that I'm looking for: morally gray characters, really complex relationships, really humanistic and like vulnerable writing and character interactions, because I soaked that up in this book. So those are some of the reasons why I loved that. And I also get a lot of questions about tomorrow as far as like, do you need to be a gamer? Because the story is around two video game developers. I would say there definitely are things that you can glean from the book otherwise. Like if you play video games, but you don't have to. You will completely understand what the author's trying to say without having that knowledge. Okay. So these next two I'll do together, which is Midnight is the Darkest Hour and Black River Orchard. I just did a video on these where I talked about books that had black magic in them. So if you're interested, I talked more about these in those videos. I was just surprised. That's the moral of this story. I really should read beyond my horizons, not pay attention to reviews too much, and give books a try that I never thought that I would. This, I think, Midnight is the Darkest Hour, some people will find cringy because there's a lot of Twilight references, but it's done in a really good way. This is the story about these two people from opposite sides of the tracks, in quotations, and there is a murder in their town, and it's about small town cults, religious sort of things. That's really what you need to know, but just, it's beautiful, and the ending is incredible. Incredible. This is the story about a magical apple that gives people not really powers, but like they feel inhuman. This is a commentary on addiction, which hits close to home for me. Part of the reason why I loved it is because the main points of view, you're getting multiple points of view. I recommend the audio for this one because it's a full cast, and you're getting multiple points of view in this. And many of them are from people who have not ate the apple. So they can see the slow descent into madness that everyone else is experiencing. This book is just a slow descent into madness, the whole thing. It's like 560 pages. It is just a slow descent into madness, and it's amazing. It touches on humanity, addiction, and how we can quickly lose touch of ourselves and our family members. It's really important, especially if you have been impacted by addiction in your family. I think that if you're ready for it, you could really love this. Everyone else could love it too. I just think it hits a little different for people who have loved someone who has suffered from addiction. And then last but not least, from season 1 of What the Bleep Did I Just Read? Dead 11. This, it's a horror thriller that was unlike anything I'd ever read before. It shocked me again because I didn't think that I would love it as much as I did. And I was just surprised, and I want to reread it. Actually, all of these books I want to reread. And I'm going to get better about rereading because I need to and I want to. But let me show you guys the full stack here. Oh my gosh. I always almost drop these, but yeah. Can you see? All right. Yeah. These are the top 10, so I'll have to pick a favorite from this stack. So stay tuned for the next video, the final in this little series of where I'm picking my favorite books of 2023. I'll also be doing like my disappointments, and I have a whole list of books that are a whole list of videos that I kind of want to reflect on my year in 2023 of reading. I'm trying to take more time to do that, really think about the books that I'm reading and liked and disliked and DNF'd and why and all the things. That's why I have a booktube channel, so I can reflect about books and fill you guys in on that. So yeah, I'm excited to do that. All right, if you haven't already, subscribing to my channel helps me out a ton. A like on the video goes a long way. I would love to hear in the comments, like, what are you guys' favorite books of 2023? I would love to know. A lot of you did your top 20. If you want to narrow those down to top 10, I would love to see, or just favorite book of 2023 is good too. All right, a very special thank you to the Mostly Ghostly crew who support my channel every month through the channel membership. If you're interested in knowing more about my channel membership, it's linked in the description box below with lots of fun benefits like a book club that we have. We get together every every month on, like, it's not Zoom, it's like Discord's video thing, and we talk and hang out, and it's just a great community. And it's a way to support my channel if you're interested in doing that. All right, a very special thank you to you for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Wear a mask, get your booster, wash your hands, and please don't leave your house if you're sick.
Still